Welcome to the Broncos podcast with Troy Rank. I'm your host, Troy Rank, columnist for the Denver Post. Hope you're having a victory Monday. It's still Sunday where you are, but Monday morning where I am here in London. Be flying out, parts unknown, early here in a few hours, but you guys deserve a pod, Broncos country. You deserve better than what you saw offensively. Listen, Broncos need not apologize ever for winning on the road since 2015, but they're not going to win the AFC West playing like that. You cannot count on your defense to have an historic performance to beat a winless team and look yourself in the mirror with a straight face. You got some stuff you got to correct. The good news is you're correcting it at 4-2, but what is going on with the offense? Why was this defense just so gnarly? Now, let's give them credit. And there's one other problem with this team. The special teams. Like, what? I thought Darren Rizzi got hired to make them better, not worse. So, again, Broncos win 13-11 at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Fantastic environment, really cool digs. Remind me of the outside was basically the Raiders Stadium with the inside reminded me of Seattle Seahawks home field. So really cool venue. Broncos country showed out, but what they saw left their retinas bleeding a little bit. That was ugly, but it was a win. And that's the important thing. But let's break it down, what went right, what went wrong, and what has to be fixed if they're going to go on a run here. We'll get to all of that after the break. Have you been hurt in a car wreck or injured at work? What are you waiting for? Give my friends at Hoggatt Injury Law a call. Their motto with us is personal. That's because it is. I've known Darby Hoggatt forever. I became his good friend. Many of Darby's clients become his good friend. You don't even have to pay Darby up front. If the case goes as planned, Darby will be the one writing checks to you. So if you've been hurt in a car wreck or injured at work, give this number a call. Write it down, folks. 1-833-464-4288. That's 1-833-464-4288. Or visit the website at hoggattlaw.com. Welcome back to the beautiful London Airbnb here on Monday morning in the West Central London, I think it is. We are in northern London for the game where Tottenham Stadium is, and further out is where they practice, the Hotspurs Training Center. A long week. It's been a long time the Broncos were gone, and I'm not making excuses, just reasons. You have come off an emotional win over the Eagles. They left Dove Valley on Friday afternoon. They will get back on Monday morning. That's a long trip for football. That's a baseball trip. I used to go on 7 and 10-day road trips covering baseball all the time. But, again, this was different because it's set up. They wanted this. The Broncos wanted, if they were going to have a London game, they want to be back east before the game and then head out here and spend the whole week. Some teams don't. Some teams come in really late. Some teams come in midweek. Sean Payton likes the collegiate feel it creates by putting his team in the middle of nowhere, very similar to the Greenbrier in West Virginia. They were out at Marriott Manor Country Club way out in the boonies. That was you needed an Uber to get to the first underground. I mean, it was a ways out there, and it forces you to focus. Football, kind of football only trip. We don't have anything but each other. That whole idea. I understand what he's doing there. I think because of the way it played out in terms of being gone that long and the travel and coming off a Monday night game, it just was clunky. It should not have been a trap game. Excuse me. But the Broncos played like it was, and they give the Jets defense some credit. But let's start with why they won. I don't want it to be a negative podcast right from the beginning because we're going to, break down some things on what happened. But the reason they won is very simple, folks. They had 9 sacks. Are you kidding me? 9 sacks? One of the best performances defensively in the history of the franchise. Excuse me. The press box is outside. If you're wondering why my nose is running, my sinuses sound jacked up. We were sitting outside, no complaints, but being in the open air for 3.5 hours or so, 4 hours, didn't do exact wonders on my sinuses. 9 sacks. Benito did his work. Jonathan Cooper was in on it. I mean, it was just, I think it was 8 guys in on this. But the reality is this is a really good defensive team. It has a chance to be a great defensive team. But they're going to have the offense is going to be play more complimentary football. But why were they able to do this? I mean, Justin Fields, it's crazy. I was telling a Jets beat writer, Brian Costello, he's with the New York Post. I'm sure he is. I know him from my baseball days. Justin Fields, after, if you remember, the Broncos gave up that 70-burger to the Dolphins in Peyton's first year in 2023, their next game was at Chicago. At that point, they're winless. And Justin Fields opened that game, if memory serves, like 22 of 23. This is after Tua had just absolutely carved them up. And Broncos came back and won that game with a big play by Jonathan Cooper. Well, on this day, Justin Fields looks like a high school quarterback, like he's never read a defense in his life. He has one offensive weapon he trusts, in Garrett Wilson, who's being covered by Pat Surtain. Just Surtain turning receivers into Chick-fil-A. They're not open on Sunday. And Wilson was frustrated, understandably. But Fields, folks, 9 for 17 for 45 yards, and he was sacked 9 times. So he had 9 completions and 9 sacks, negative passing yards when you deal with the sack, lost yardage for sacks. Their offensive line had no chance. Jonathan Cooper was getting just his get off today was very similar to Nick Bonito. And Zach Allen told me after the game that it was a bit of a race to the quarterback. That's like what hitters do against Rockies pitchers when they race to the bat rack at Coors Field. To give you an idea, that's what these defenders felt like. It was like they want to eat. They don't care that they're being put in compromised positions because they want to go get theirs. And they did. And they were good against the run, but 9 sacks and just a smothering performance in the past game. Zach Allen talked about the performance afterward and what it meant, kind of what the guys were feeling, the vibe of that defense. And, hey, they finished. They didn't do that against the Colts. They didn't do that against the Chargers. So, yes, it's the hapless, hopeless Jets. The hapless, hopeless, winless Jets, but they finished. Let's hear from Zach Allen on the defense's big day. Here's Zach from the locker room after the win.
What did you guys talk so much about finishing, and you got walked off of the Colts, walked off of the Chargers, you got put in that position again. What does it mean to be able to finish today? Whether it's ugly or not, but not defensively.
Yeah.
What does it mean to be able to finish?
Yeah, no, I mean, the fact that we were able to finish it is really cool. So, it's showing growth, and, we just got to keep on going with it and keep on finishing, and it never stops. It's still early in the year, so, we still got 11 games left, so still a lot of ball left to do.
When you are playing that way defensively, it's one thing if you have to go back on the field against maybe a team that's dangerous. Was it like, fine, put us back in that position? Like, guys, everyone was a race to the quarterback.
Yeah, no, we like playing defense. We don't mind it, and at the same time, it was, we enjoy those situations. We take pride in it, and take pride in finishing games. So the fact that we were able to do it today was pretty special.
Coach said that at some point the offense is going to be maybe carry the defense. You feel that way, that like they're going to get into a rhythm too? Like it's just for whatever reason wasn't their second half.
Yeah, I mean, you look. I mean, Colts, they carried us to the. They kept us in that game. Like it goes back and forth. Give credit to the Jets. They got a lot of good players out there. I know their record's 0-6, but they played good defense for the past decade. Plus. So there's no worries.
All right, welcome back to the pod. Again, it's Troy Rand for the Denver Post. Hope you're reading all my columns in the Denver Post. Sorry for this weird visual. It's the best lighting in this Airbnb. Internet's kind of been weird this whole week, so this is where I'm doing it from. So sorry. Feels like I'm looking down on you. I'm not, I promise. I'm trying to get the phone in the best position that stays consistent. But, I mean, come on. Listen to some of these stats. The Broncos held the Jets to 8 first downs, 2 by penalty, 6 rushing. Jets had 82 total yards on 57 offensive plays. What? That doesn't even seem possible. Problem is, Broncos weren't much better. They had 246 yards on 57 plays, and they were atrocious for much of the second half. But give the defense credit. Let's give the defense credit. The Jets were 2 of 15 on third down, 82 total yards, negative net passing yards when you figure in the sacks. You got Nick Bonito off for one of the greatest starts in franchise history. He's still on pace for 24 sacks. Jonathan Cooper's right behind him. It's hard to believe it was only a couple years ago. They hadn't had a guy with double-figure sacks since Chubb and Vaughn, like 5 years ago. And now Bonito's going to have 10 easily by the halfway point of the season. So let's say that's 8.5 games, so the halftime of the 9th game. But I mean, he is just on a rocket ride. But Vance Joseph dialing up the pressure, a little more man. And again, when Vance can play that game where he's not worried about getting beat by multiple receivers, he's got fire zone blitzes, he's got man, and when you got coverage on one end with Surtain, holy smokes, folks. Embrace that. I mean, as great as the no-fly zone was, they didn't have a lot of games like this, that orange rush. I say that Packers game against Aaron Rodgers on Monday night was like that in that season, and that team beat, as we've talked about on the pod. Much better quarterback, certainly much better than Justin Fields. But Fields, what a day. What a day for the defense. But man, was it needed. Holy crap. What in the hell is going on with the Broncos offense again? After that huge signature win, now we got scribbles of doubt? Like, what the? Really? Really? We're doing this again? We're going to talk about the offense and break down some of it and what are some of the solutions after the break. Life doesn't always work out the way we thought. When you face curveballs from family challenges, divorce, legal separation, child support, alimony, custody, you need a lawyer who understands the human dynamics, the courtroom, and is willing to fight for your rights. You need Ted Shih. He's a graduate of Cal Berkeley Law. Ted brings 40 years of courtroom experience, 20 years of family law experience to your corner. Ted's been a social worker, police detective, but first and foremost, he's a trial lawyer. He's tried cases across the country and state. He is ranked as one of the top lawyers in the country by Martindale-Hubbell. You want an expert to navigate your family challenge? Ted will find a path out for you. Ted's passion is putting you first. Ted will work to settle your case if possible. He's not afraid to go toe-to-toe in a trial to protect your interests. Ted can be reached at theoshih@aol.com. That's THEOSHIH at AOL.com, or call him 303-475-2981. That's 303-475-2981. Ted promises to respond to your concerns within 24 hours, 365 days a year. Listen, folks, time to have that discussion of what is going on offensively. What is the Broncos' identity? I thought we had this conversation, and it was kind of moving forward after that Bengals game. They had balance. J.K. Dobbins was a dude. He's got 100 yards. Bo Nix looked the part. He's finally like having fun. And it looked like that for the kind of the first quarter. You know, Nix, that first quarter, you combine the first quarter of this game and the fourth quarter against the Eagles, he was 20 of 23 for like 227 yards, 2 scores. He's Tom Brady. Unfortunately, these other 6 quarters of these last 2 games, he looks more like Brady Quinn. He's just tentative, not trusting it. The second half of this game, 4 for 10 for 49 yards. And again, it's not just on Bo, but it's just he's more of a microcosm. They're finally getting Ingram going. But what's going on? The reality is they're just not balanced. They don't run the ball well enough. And when you don't, it just forces you into these weird situations. And you look at the Broncos' net rushing yards, 78. Like, come on. I mean, what are we doing? Dobbins, 14 for 40, 2.9 a pop. Nix, 5 for 24. Ingram had an end around, 1 for 7. Harvey, 2 carries, 4 yards. Again, that's not good enough. And the rest were receivers. But your top 2 rushers are Dobbins and Nix at 19 carries for 64 yards. That's not good enough. And it's the problem is because of that, they get predictable. Because of that, they can't stay on the field. I mean, you had a fumble by Troy Franklin. That hurt early. I mean, listen, the Broncos should have been up at half, like 17-0. They gave away points on a special team, on a kickoff return, a fumble by Franklin. I mean, just mistakes that were silly. But here's the problem we got to talk about when I say third and long. Third quarter, third straight week, no points. They were terrible at Philly. At one point against Philadelphia, you all remember they had 6 straight punts. In this game, they had 5 punts, but they weren't consecutive because at one point, 2 punts were sandwiching a safety. When Quinn Meinerz got beat, he claims, I talked to him afterward, that the guy put his head into him, which is illegal, and then as Quinn's going back, he ends up grabbing the jersey. He said, hey, you get whooped, but he feels like that's the second consecutive week where guys put his head into his chest and tried to draw a penalty against him. And this time it results in a safety because it's a holding call in the end zone. But listen, this third quarter, the Broncos run 6 plays for 9 yards. 6 plays for 9 yards. And then they had a chance with 3:30 left, folks. Put the game away. If you get 1 first down, it's probably over. 2 first downs, it is over. Because the Jets don't know how to use timeouts. I mean, I'm telling you, watch the Jets. There's that evergreen tweet of what in the freak are they doing? They let the time run out to end the half without a Hail Mary, without a chance to kick a long field goal. And then on that last possession before the Broncos with the sack that won it, why are they even passing? I mean, honestly, I would have run the ball multiple times there to try to get it to the 47. I mean, try a 61-yard field goal. Anything's better than Justin Fields dropping back at that point. I mean, it was literally, as they say, a race to the quarterback. It was, you might as well drop a flag and had a stage light like an NHRA drag race to the quarterback. But Broncos 3:30 left in the game. You get it back. There's your chance. Go win the game. 3 plays, minus 5 yards. Really? Really? That's what we're throwing out there. It was a Dobbins run, and then a short a loss of yards, and then Nix got sacked for the first time. That's a hell of a time to have the first sack. And then you're holding on for dear life again. Holding on. The good news is Sean Payton didn't mince words about it, saying, hey, listen, we got to be better. He told me, I asked him specifically about that series. It's disappointing. It's frustrating. As a play caller, you can put that game away. But, folks, this is a playoff team. I have no doubt. But they're not winning the AFC West playing like this offensively. You've got to be more explosive. You've got to be more balanced. So I asked, I was part of an interview where Quinn Meinerz, was asked, how would you describe your offense today? And he said, abysmal. But let's listen to what Quinn Meinerz had to say after the Broncos escaped with a 13-11 victory. Give them credit. They had one drive that counted at the end there, got that field goal. But, I mean, let's call it what it is. You can't play much worse offensively in a win than they did. So here's what Meinerz said when asked about the overall offensive performance.
We got to watch this film. This is going to be really important film for us to watch. Because the last 2 weeks, I felt like we kind of were starting to find maybe a little bit of an offensive identity. I think we showed a little bit of that same identity that we were trying to be in the first half, and then it kind of went away. We need to figure out why.
All right, welcome back to the pod. Sorry if that vibrated on you guys. Dealing with some issues in terms of getting this thing set up. Maybe I'll put it over here. I'll look at you from over here. It's still hard, but that maybe it'll help keep it off that floor. But hey, I mean, honestly, folks, you guys were watching, and there was a huge number of you at the game. Offensively, they're terrible. I mean, come on, what are we doing? They were just terrible. There's just no way around that. And they're not going to get where they want to go until they get balance. When they have balance offensively, then they're better because it frees up the bootleg game. Here's what was frustrating, too, where they settled for a field goal that put them up 13-11. It left them vulnerable to getting walked off. They have a 1st and 9 at the 9, and they do a bootleg, and neither guy in the pattern is looking for the ball. Pat Bryant and Adam Troutman are both blocking. Like, what? That's the kind of stuff you're like, what the hell? You can't do that if you're a good team. You're in the red zone. You're in the gold zone there inside the 10. We run a bootleg, and Troutman's blocking, and Bryant's blocking. I got to believe Bryant messed up because Troutman knows the playbook so well. But whomever, it was just embarrassing. And you get a field goal, and you're left vulnerable to get walked off. Kind of stuff that can't happen. And you got the Jets, their defensive front's actually pretty salty. They're a challenging team. I mean, they are streaky as hell, with Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo. They've been better, but they will force you to be a little one-dimensional at times. They got after Justin Herbert a couple of weeks ago, really put it to him. The Broncos have got to get balanced. And this is my humble suggestion. I'm not a coach. I don't claim to be a football coach. But the reality is this. Peyton, at some point, he's got to limit the line changes and the substitutions. They got to figure out who their best players are and ride with them 70, 80% of the time. I know Peyton likes to create mismatches through personnel groupings. I get it. Most teams do it through motion. He likes to do it through groupings. It's too much. They're getting to the line of scrimmage too late, and you're bringing in guys who are not net positive. It'd be like, you sub out Freddie Freeman for his backup, or you sub out, Judge for your fifth outfielder, like for a couple. It doesn't make sense. It's just not the changing of the personnel to fool the other team. In some cases, if not too many, you're bringing in an inferior player. I want the best players to play the most, and I don't always think that's the case with the way they're doing some of this. And there was a point in the third quarter where the order was like this, but it was ultimately 3. Dobbins first down in the game, Harvey second down in the game, and then Jaleel McLaughlin third down. He was finally up for the first time this season. He did nothing. And Parker Gabriel, credit to him, he pointed this out. But that's what I'm talking about. That doesn't make sense to me. Dobbins should be your guy. And then the next guy, he gets in when he gets in. I'm not worried about getting snaps because McLaughlin's active. I mean, that's great. He's earned it. And I love the fact he's put his head down in practice and he's got himself active. But I don't need to get him in the game if it doesn't warrant it, if it doesn't, fall with the way we're playing. And it just feels like Peyton is getting caught up in his script and not trusting his eyes on what he's watching. And he gets him out of rhythm by some of the play calling, by too many personnel groupings. And again, it goes back to the line did not have a good day. He said that afterward. He was disappointed in what they did up front. I don't disagree with him. Matt Pert had a horrible first game filling in for Ben Powers, got called for 3 penalties. Jim Harbaugh I'm losing my mind, folks. I'm tired. Garrett Bowles, told me afterwards that he's got to be better around him. He's got to communicate, and he thinks Matt's going to be fine. But he did not play well. But they didn't play well as a group. So for me, it starts there. Establish the run with one guy and then a secondary player. Stop trying to fit 2 and 3 backs in. Trust one for more, and then roll off that. Dobbins should be in line for 15 to 20 carries every game. And I'd like it to be closer to 20. To do that and be effective, he's got to be around 4 yards to 5 a pop. That was certainly not the case this game. But that's what I see as an issue. The personnel groupings, too many subs, guys not getting into rhythm, and the next thing you know, you're punting 5 straight drives. You can't keep asking your defense to do that. It's not fair. It really is not fair to the defense. So, again, you heard what Meinerz had to say about it, and he's dead on. It was abysmal. They were horrible offensively. But the key is you did it in a loss. Look at it. What corrections can you make in a loss? You did it in a win. I'm tired. Did it in a win. How can you prevent it from becoming a loss? You should have lost. But pretty much any other team you play in the league today, you probably lose. But fix it. Develop an identity. Stop making excuses for this and that. Get into a rhythm. Establish who you are and play off of that. And trust your best guys. More Ingram, please. More of him. He looks really good these last couple of games. Not for the whole games, but certainly stretches. Use him more. He should be your second receiver to Sutton. And I think at times he feels like you're forcing the issue to Franklin. And these other guys, they are complementary pieces for me. Their top 2 offensive receiving weapons should be Sutton and Ingram, and in the first back, no question, should be Dobbins. So why does that matter so much? Why? Well, it's because they're not good on special teams this year, folks. They have no margin for error because of the fact their special teams at times has just been a hot mess. Darren Rizzi was brought in to make them better. Peyton was pissed about the block field at Kansas City, pissed about some of the return stuff toward the end of the season. He brings in his friend Darren Rizzi, who was the former head coach, interim, but head coach of the Saints, with a great reputation as a special teams guy. And it is not even close to the standard they need, and the one that Mike Westhoff talked about when he was involved until his eye issue that caused him to retire. They miss him. But Rizzi's giving off Brock Olivo vibes. Like, what the hell? During the season already, they've given up 2 kickoff returns of more than 70 yards to the Titans and Jets. It cost them 3 points against the Jets. They had an insanely stupid leverage penalty on a 60-yard field goal attempt by the Colts that ultimately cost them a game. No reason to even attempt that play then on a 60-yarder because of the fact kid was pissing down his leg, nervous. If he makes it 60-yarder and it's a franchise record, you tip your cap and say, you win. It's like you don't go commit a foul when the worst three-point shooter is shooting at 20 feet behind the line. That hurt. You clanked a field goal with Will Lutz. You've muffed a punt and lost one with Marvin Mims. Like, clean it up. Clean it up. And that's a problem. And I asked Peyton specifically about it afterward. He said, I'm sure Darren Rizzi's as disappointed with his units as I am with the offense. That about sums it up. And then he said, as a head coach, I have to be happy with the win because their defense won it. Their defense and Vance Joseph bailed them out. There's no way to explain it other than that. The offense ultimately had like 2.5 good drives. And the defense just completely wrote a diary of havoc. I mean, memorable in so many ways because of the sacks, but the total yardage. I mean, you thought they shut the Titans down. They had 133 yards. Jets had 82? What? They're terrible, though, folks. I mean, that's the other thing. Like, the Broncos have won 4 games. Titans, terrible. Jets, terrible. Bengals, terrible. So that's what I'm pointing. I get shit on Twitter about, oh, you're being negative with your column, and I do hope you go read it because I think it's fair. There's a difference from just, being negative to be negative and being fair to the process. Anyone who watched that game with a clear eye would come away saying, the Broncos have a lot of work to do offensively and on special teams. And they do. It's an ugly win. You need not apologize for it, but they have got to get better. They need to win probably 4 of their next 5. When you look at the schedule with the Giants and the Cowboys and the Texans and Raiders coming up, and then Chiefs. I mean, ideally you win 4 of those 5 because it gets tougher on the backside with the Packers, at Washington, home against the Chargers, and then at the Chiefs. This is the stretch you're going to run, but it's going to be difficult. The Broncos took this challenge. They wanted it. They're the first team to play in London and then not have a bye, a first team west of the Mississippi to play in London and then not have a bye. Sean Payton wants all that smoke. He wants the fire chat. He wants to chat him up with fire, with smoke. And I love that he gives them swag, but they better figure it out. They're going to have a sense of urgency against the Giants because that was a letdown game, the way they played offensively. And again, when you look at essentially 4 of the last 6 quarters, it has been ugly. They got to be better. We've seen it at times, but you're 4-2. Time to go on a run. You could win. You want to be 8-3 at some point at 11 games, ideally. 7-4, you'd probably be fine. But in terms, again, of winning the division, it's got to be better. So, Broncos country, embrace those 9 sacks. Enjoy it. Watch the highlights on Twitter of all 9 of them. They were ruthless today. Absolutely ruthless. Werewolves of London, if you will. The offense was a rumor, and the special teams just way too spotty. But they won. I'll be back later in the week. We get back to Dub Valley. See where the Broncos are. See where their head's at. They will be favored this week. Time to take care of business. Get back at home. Get into a rhythm. And see if they can develop an identity and consistency offensively. Folks, I could not do this pod without the help of the sponsors. That's Darby Hoggatt, my A1 from day one, Hoggatt Injury Law. Ted Shih's family law practice. Ted's great, obviously. And then my friends at Mile High Sports, Danny Bailey and Nate Lundy. They are the best. Broncos country, I do this pod for you. Happiness that begins with me. Go out there and have a great day.